Jonah, chapter 1. And the words of Yahuwah came to Yonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, a great city, and cry out against it, for their evils have come up before me. But Yonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of Yahuwah, and went down to Yaffo, and found a ship going to Tarshish. And he paid the fare, and went down into it, to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah sent out a great wind on the sea, and there was a great storm on the sea, so the ship was thought to be broken up. And the seamen were afraid, and each cried out to their own mighty one, and threw cargo which was on the ship into the sea to lighten the load. But Yonah had gone down into the lowest part of the ship, and he laid down and was fast asleep. And the captains came to him and said to him, What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, cry out to your Elohim. If so be that Elohim shall think about us, so that we do not perish. And they said to each other, Come, let us cast lots, so that we know for whose sake this evil has come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Yonah. So they said to him, Please explain to us, for whose sake is this evil upon us? What is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and from what people are you? And he said to them, I am a Hebrew, and I am fearing of Yahuwah, the Elohim of the heavens, who made the sea and dry land. And the men were exceedingly afraid, and said to them, Why have you done this? For the man knew that he had fled from the presence of Yahuwah, for he had informed them. And they said to him, What are we to do with you to make the sea calm for us? For the sea was growing more stormy. And he said to them, Take me and throw me into the sea, so that the sea becomes calm for you. For I know that this great storm is because of me. However, the men rowed hard to bring the ship to land, but were unable, for the sea continued to grow more stormy against them. And they cried out to Yahuwah and said, We pray, O Yahuwah, please let us not perish for this man's life, and do not lay on us innocent blood, for you, O Yahuwah, have done as it pleased you. Then they took Yonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea stopped raging. And the men feared Yahuwah exceedingly, and slaughtered a slaughtering to Yahuwah, and made vows. But Yahuwah appointed a great fish to swallow Yonah, and Yonah was in the stomach of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Yonah, chapter 2. And Yonah prayed to Yahuwah his Elohim from the stomach of the fish, and he said, I called to Yahuwah because of my distress, and he answered me. From the stomach of Sheol I cried, and he heard my voice. For you threw me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the floods surrounded me. All your breakers and your winds passed over me. So I said, I have been driven away from your eyes. Would I ever look again towards your set-apart Hakil? The waters encompassed me. Unto life the deep closed around me. Weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the base of the mountains. The earth with its bars were behind me forever. But you brought up my life from the pit, O Yahuwah my Elohim. When my life fainted with me, I remembered Yahuwah, and my prayer went up to you and to your set-apart Hakil. Those observing false worthlessness forsake their own love and commitment. But I slaughter to you with the voice of thanksgiving. I pray what I have vowed. Deliverance is of Yahuwah. Then Yahuwah spoke to the fish, and it vomited Yonah onto the dry land. Yonah, chapter 3. And the word of Yahuwah came to Yonah the second time, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and proclaim to it the message that I am speaking to you. And Yonah arose and went to Nineveh, according to the word of Yahuwah. Now Nineveh was a great city before Elohim, a 3 days' journey. And Yonah began to go on the city on the first day's walk. And he cried out and said, Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And the men of Nineveh believed in Elohim and proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth from the greatest to the least of them. And the word reached the sovereign of Nineveh. So he arose from his throne and took off his robe and covered himself with the sackcloth and sat in ashes. And he proclaimed and said throughout Nineveh, By decree of the sovereign and his nobles, no man or beast, herd or flock, shall taste whatever. Let them not eat, let them not drink water. But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth and call mightily to Elohim. And let each one turn from his evil ways and from his violence that is in his hands. Who knows whether Elohim does turn and relent, and shall turn away from the heat of his displeasure, so that we do not perish. And Elohim saw their works, and that they turned from their evil ways. And Elohim relented from his evil, which he had said he would do to them, and he did not do it. Yonah, chapter 4. But it greatly displeased Jonah, and he was grieved. And he prayed to Yahuwah, and he said, Please, Yahuwah, was this not what I had said while I was in my own land? This is why I went ahead and fled to Tarshish, for I knew you are an El showing favor and compassion, patience, and of great love and commitment, and relenting from doing evil. And now, O Yahuwah, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than live. And Yahuwah said, Are you right to be displeased? And Yonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city and made himself a shelter there, and sat under it, the shade, to see what would become of the city. And Yahuwah Elohim appointed a plant and made it come up over Yonah to be a shade for his head, to deliver him from the discomfort. And Yonah greatly rejoiced over the plant. But as morning dawned the next day, Elohim appointed a worm, which struck the plant so that it would wither. And it came to be, when the sun came up, Elohim appointed a scorching east wind, and the sun struck on Yonah's head, so that he grew faint and asked for his life to die, and said, Is it better for me to die than live? And Elohim said to Yonah, Have you rightly become displeased over a plant? And he said, I have rightly become displeased even to death. And Yahuwah said, You felt sorry for a plant, for which you have not labored, nor made it grow, which come up in a night and perish in a night. And should I not pardon Nineveh, the great city, which are more than 120,000 beings who have not known their right hand from their left, and much cattle?